Hello. I am Piers, and as always, I appreciate you for listening. And I am out here enjoying this weather. It is hot, but I'm on the back and some shade, and I decided to do this video message, hoping to help somebody. Um, I did a video, and the name of it is it's something about God silent. It's frustrating. Now, one thing I have learned about God silent, although you can't hear him, he's with you. We've heard that so many times. But in my situation, it was totally different. God was silent because I decided to walk away. I decided to do it on my own and become the prodigal daughter. And what I've learned about being out here disconnected from source, intentionally disconnected from source. And thank God that he is never gonna let you go. When you think you're walking away, God is like, okay, I'm right behind you, still protecting you, still making a way out of no way. But God is always with you. Being out here disconnected from source, trying to figure things out on my own, has really made me realize that without God, it is impossible. On my bad day, it is impossible to have peace. It is impossible to have guidance without God's blueprint. It is impossible to not feel the weight of life without God, because you're going to feel it. It is very impossible. Being on this journey, I literally stopped talking and praying like I used to for about 2 years. And one thing that I can say, I will never do that again. It seemed like every direction I was trying to take, we tap into other things and we started doing things to try to. God is the only way, the only truth, and the only light, right? My life started to go downhill. Nothing good was happening. But there was a part of me that knew that I was not alone. There was a part of me that knew that even though it's like this video I was watching of a mother, she was recording her daughter, maybe 5 years old, 4. She packed and she leaves. She can't take it no more. She called herself leaving the house. And her mother just stood there like, okay, with the camera. The whole time she's following her, behind her, watching her, making sure she don't wander off in places. That's how God is. And that's how he was in my life. I thought I was out here by myself because things started to get worse, things started to get bad, but God was just watching, allowing me to see why I need him, allowing me to see why being disconnected from the one and only source is not a wise thing to do, allowing me to see that nothing outside of me, nothing outside of God can fulfill me like he can. Nothing outside of God that is in this world can give me the peace the way God can. So when I decided to surrender, because I was tired of trying to figure it out, I was tired of settling for less, I was tired of dealing with the weight of my circumstances and the burden that came with it, and I gave it to God. Immediately after that, my life began to change. I missed having God in my life to the point that I didn't need something grand from him. I didn't need him to show up and do something crazy. Something simple that reminded me of him. So one particular day after I surrendered and said, you know what, I would never do that. Of course, I repented and I apologized. Hold on. Okay, so I had to cut that off. So I repented, I apologized, and I just felt the relief, the burden began to, and I was so glad to be back. You know, have you left your house and you went on a vacation and you just miss your own home and you come back and you like, you miss your bed, you miss your kitchen. It felt like that with Jesus. I just missed it. Like, look, here, take it all, take these burdens. I don't want it. It's not for me. I get it. You are the only way. You are the only truth. You are the only light. I get it. I get it. And I slept like a baby. The next day, now, during those days, I was trying to figure out what I'm going to eat because I am transitioning in my living situation. I'm from here, from there, you know. There'll be times I don't know where I'm going, but God always send me somewhere. And having to pay for different Airbnbs, it can kind of enter into my finances, and sometimes I'll be having to figure out how I'm going to get food. So this particular time, after surrendering and trying to from trying to figure everything out myself and stressed about things, I said, you know what? I'm back depending on my Lord and Savior. I'm not even going to worry about it. So I got up, got dressed, and went to, hold on. I got up and I went to Target. I don't know why, because there's certain places that I go, I don't really go to Target. But something was just in me like, okay, just go to Target. And I had a card, that's what it was. I had a card that I was hoping that would work so I can purchase food. And I said, God, you know what, if it don't work, I'm going to put it in your hands. It didn't take me much to get faith because I remember what God has done for me. So I just really operated out of faith. I didn't want to stress no more. It's been a long journey and I'm depending on God. And I just went in there and started grabbing food. I get to the cash register and the card didn't work. And I'm standing there and this young lady is behind me and I'm just telling the cash register I only have $50 in food. What can you get for $50? So I'm like, put that back. And the young lady behind me is like, no, you can have everything. And I say, excuse me, ma'am, I'll pay for it. You say 50, I'll match it. Whatever the remaining balance is, I will match it. And I was like, that's what it was. That's what I was missing. And I couldn't do nothing but cry. It wasn't about the food. It was remembering that I don't have to be in my situation, in my season, in my journey, disconnected from source, struggling and settling and dealing with the hardship of life if I just trust and believe that God is with me. And I cried because God reminded me that moment that he was always with me and he has never left me, and he sees me. He sees what I'm going through. I cried because I knew from that day forward, me surrendering myself back to the one that I belong to, my life was going to get better. And that the journey of struggling is over. And sometimes when we don't understand God in our season, we walk away and life gets harder and it sends us right back to source. Jesus Christ is my source. I've been out here. I've tried other things. Nothing gave me peace the way God gives me peace. The provision, the situation that I'm in, being out here, going to different Airbnbs, I can't do nothing but look at how God has been my divine protection. I've never lacked anything. I've never been in any kind of situation where I just was at the edge to the point that God just been with me. I'm looking at certain situations now that I've been on this journey. God has saved my life. God has preserved my soul. God has protected me. And encouraging anybody who feels like the silence of God in your life is making you question if He's real, He's real. And I'm going to do another video on why the silence. Because there's a book in the Bible, Ecclesiastes. Look, my words and my pronunciation, you know what I'm talking about right now. But there's a time to cry, there's a time to live. I think it's a time to cry, laugh, there's a time to mourn, grieve. It makes so much sense. And sometimes when God has us in a season, you got to know what time is it for you. Is it time to break down in order for God to start building up? And that's when you start hearing all the instructions. Sometimes God gets silent because it's time for something. There's time for a shift. It is time for a new season. And in this season that I've been in, it's been grieving, because I am grieving the thing that I've been attached to. I am grieving the thing that I've been familiar to, that God is detaching me from, and it's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable, and it's causing me to make decisions and let go and do things that are pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I am not familiar with it, only to get me to the version of me that God has created me to be while I was in my mother's womb. All of the things that we go through in our lives are not against us, but for us. In order for God to break belief systems and mindsets, and that's Chicago for you. To break belief systems and mindsets, and you think it's bad because it's unfamiliar, it's the unknown. You don't know what you're looking at. And when God puts you in a season and He's taking from you and you losing everything and you having to give up things and things are not aligning, that means it is shifting, because you're coming into the new. Nobody never talked about, in order to get to the next level, in order to elevate, in order to become, you will have to go through that uncomfortable season, because to come out of the old is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Hold on. It's uncomfortable letting go your comfort zone. To come out of your comfort zone means to become uncomfortable and start doing things that you are not familiar with. That's what it's all about. And this is why many of us get mad at God, because when He starts messing with the things that we are familiar with, we think that God is making our life harder. No. He's making it better. The same way the Israelites were freed from Egypt and God took them in the wilderness, they were so familiar with the things that had kept them in chains, kept them in bondage and bound, and they got mad at God because He was giving them something that they were not familiar with. Like when He fed them manna, which would have been something, healthy, lighter, and maybe healed them. But they were used to meat, flesh, that food that makes you tired, that makes you lazy, that keeps you from feeling light. And they only understood that. They only knew that. They only was familiar with that. So everything that you are familiar with, your comfort zone, doesn't mean it's for you. It's just that is all you know. And when it's time to move to the next level, and when it's time to start allowing God to show up and do what needs to be done, it's going to get uncomfortable, because you are in a new space. You are going to be dealing with things that you are not familiar with. So allow God silent to grow you, okay? Don't let it frustrate you. Don't let it do what it did to me, because I believe that I would have been further if I would have just allowed Him to do what He was doing. His silence means be still. That is time for you to be still and really just focus and move as if the teacher is right by your side. But don't believe that he will actually leave you nor forsaken you, because he said he'll never leave you. The discomfort is evident that you are walking into something new in unfamiliar territory that may be in alignment with who you are becoming, with your purpose, with your growth. Trust and believe that God is with you. Trust and believe. I'm telling you, this journey that I've been on has been the most emotional, scariest, uncomfortable, and who I am becoming every single day, based off the lessons and the things that I am learning from this journey. I am definitely amazed. The things that I thought that I can only do, I'm realizing I can do more. The things that I thought that I couldn't let go, I'm realizing I can live without. The people that I thought was for me, I'm learning they were never for me. They were against me. The lifestyle that I only knew of, I'm realizing it's the lifestyle that is keeping me in bondage. There was a time and place that I was in this world and I didn't know who I was, what's my purpose, and nothing. And now I'm sitting here knowing and believing. I haven't got there yet, but I know that I'm so much more than what I was grown to believe about myself. The poor self-image that I had about myself. And it took me to go on this journey of becoming, and I'm still becoming, to see that what I was familiar with, the programming and conditioning, is not the way for me. There are so many ways to life. There are so many ways to do things, but sometimes we have been stuck in a way based off what our mother taught us, based off what we have been groomed from our environment, from what we only know, and we think that's the only way. There's this thing that I've heard from a couple of pastors, and it's a very good analogy. This young lady, she was a little girl, and she used to watch her mother bake turkey. Every time her mother baked turkey for the holidays, she noticed that her mother would put the turkey in the pot after cutting the legs off, and would put the legs on top of the turkey and bake it. This little girl seen her mom do this every single year. That's what she know. That's what she was exposed to. That's what she saw. She carried that into her life as an adult. Thanksgiving here, she baked her turkey. She cut off the legs, put the legs on top of the turkey, and just bake it. Her older sister asked her, "Why are you baking the turkey like that?" And she said, "It is because Mom did it." And the sister had to say Mom did it because Mom had a smaller pot. She didn't have a big enough pot to put the turkey inside. So just because you are familiar with a thing and you only know a thing doesn't mean that's the only way. Sometimes God would have to put you in situations that would force you to see something from a different perspective to show you that there are other ways. You've been at a certain place financially because that's all you've been exposed to in your community. That's all you know. But God will start to shake things up in your life that's going to push you in the position of starting to do things that's going to take you out of that poverty mindset. And then you're going to look back and say, wow, I thought that was it for me. That's all I knew. The moral of everything that I'm saying, whatever season you are in your life and you are dependent on God, stay dependent on God. He's your blueprint. He's not failing you. You only hurting because that familiar thing is the only thing you know of. There's a meme of God kneeling, and he handing the little girl he had his hand out for the little girl to give him the small teddy bear. Behind her back, he has a bigger teddy bear, and that is because God is saying, trust me by giving me your little, and trust and believe that when you let go, I'm going to give you something way bigger and better. I'm going to give you something that aligns with who you are. I'm going to give you something that's going to be so satisfying, that's going to be so fulfilling, that you would be mind blown of what you were missing what you was missing out on based off something that you didn't know. You didn't know that there was another way. The Bible says, my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. It's something that you don't know, and your comfort zone is keeping you from discovering whatever it is. Because of whatever it is that you don't know, you are stagnant. You are in the same place, in the same mindset, in the same belief system, in the same trauma, and it is withholding you from developing into the version of you that God has created in your mother's womb. He wants to uncondition you. He wants to put you in a season to unlearn and relearn the information that aligns with your true nature so that you can become who He has created you to be. But the problem is, so many of us are so comfortable that when we have to deal with things that make us feel what we're not familiar with, those emotions of discomfort, shall I call it. Because there's so many emotions that come with being uncomfortable. You got fear, you got procrastination. All of those things are evident that you are moving into something new. If there's no fear, meaning you're not being challenged by the old version of you, because the old version of you doesn't start getting loud until the new version starts to come up and say, it's time to leave all of this. That's the real war, and that is you detaching from your comfort zone in order to get uncomfortable, to come into the new that's going to allow you to live your best life. That's what life is. If we just trust and believe that anything that happens and we don't understand God and we are frustrated with God, it's only that way because it's something that you have never seen. Doesn't mean God is making your life harder. You think it's harder because you're not familiar with that. But when you sit back and you see God as your Heavenly Father and you see that He is not against you, but He's for you, it will give you that kind of peace that will allow you to sit still in the midst of God silent. So I just wanted to encourage you. God got you. And before you know it, it's all going to make sense later. It's going to make sense later. That is it. That is all. Thank you for listening. God bless.